Hello everyone, and I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing listener in Telltale Games, Transformers, and more. Welcome back to another EarthSpark review, where we are going to be reviewing today Transformers EarthSpark Season 1, Episode 12, Outtakes. So, going into this episode, I read the summary, basically, Jawbreaker and hashtag try to figure out Jawbreaker's all mode. I'm thinking, okay, this is just going to be a little wacky episode of Jawbreaker interviewing people, all the other Terrans and other Autobots trying to figure out, like, what alt mode's best for him. It's gonna be some, like, wacky episode with hijinks, stuff like that. But I did not expect this to honestly be one of the most heartfelt episodes, not only just Transformers media, but just animation in general. This is legitimately, like, one of my top 3 favorite episodes of this batch of episodes, and easily one of my favorite episodes of EarthSpark in general. I loved this episode, and it's just absolutely, like, aside from, like, one small thing, I absolutely love this episode. So go ahead and see everything this episode did right and what made it so good. Episode 12 doesn't start off with Jawbreaker, but actually Mo, as we see her in the living room grabbing Alex's video camera so that she and Thrash can shoot this, like, homemade kaiju movie. That's honestly, like, really funny. I mean, of course, like, as someone who has made those really cringy home videos at her age, I can totally relate to that. And then as they're making it, of course, that's when Jawbreaker comes in. We see he's reading a lot of the same Transformers comics that Twitch and Thrash read all the way back in episode 1, basically wondering how he'll be able to choose which alt mode he wants. However, when he sees that Mo and Thrash are filming the movie, he notices that how weird Thrash is, basically making him, like, act all macho and all that. And so after that, he goes to go see Dot and ask about what's going on, like why Thrash was acting that way. And Dot basically explains to Jawbreaker that how people sometimes act differently when they're put in front of a camera than if they're just talking, like, otherwise. So this gives Jawbreaker the idea to basically just ask everyone on camera why they chose their alt mode in the hopes that he can get some ideas as to what alt mode he's gonna get. So this starts off with Jawbreaker going to interview Bumblebee, which honestly starts off as a really cute scene. I like that Jawbreaker's just totally inexperienced. He has no idea how to conduct an interview or himself in any way, and it's like kind of like a darkly funny moment where he's asking B about how he got his alt mode. He basically says how he wants to make sure he doesn't make the mistake of choosing the bad alt mode the first time, like B clearly did with his. As we saw back in episode 11, he had his old original Volkswagen Beetle alt mode in the 80s before he changed to his more Camaro-like alt mode now. But this clearly upsets B, so he just kicks Jawbreaker out of the bar, and that leaves him to run into hashtag. Now, before I go into hashtag, I just want to point out how B seems to be so offended by Jawbreaker basically saying that he got his first alt mode wrong, because yeah, like, it seems just like a little, like, just jokey thing for the kids, but honestly, it plays a lot into what's going to be happening in episode 14, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, after B kicks Jawbreaker out, he runs into hashtag, who is seen watching, like, a bunch of some soap opera on her little tablet we saw her using back in episode 11, and it's at this moment when she notices that Jawbreaker has Alex's video camera, and immediately she just becomes enamored with it, saying how she's been watching hundreds of movies and TV since being taken in by Dot and Alex. And basically she explains to Jawbreaker that her lifelong dream is to become a movie director who ends up making, like, an incredible movie. And literally, I swear to God, she is literally the spitting image of a Transformers OC that I've had in my head for about 2 years now. So I'm just putting, like, artwork done by the amazing Anonymous Prime, who you can go check out their Twitter in the link below. They ended up creating this incredible, like, vision of me, of my OC Chronicle, who pretty much is hashtag. He is a Cybertronian archivist who is so obsessed with telling stories and such that he started out as a news reporter and archivist before he ended up leaving Cybertron during the war to end up becoming a filmmaker and documenting other civilizations, believing that, like, stories can immortalize people. And when I saw hashtag's episode, all I could think of was how close she is to Chronicle, and I thought that was hilarious. And it instantly made me love hashtag even more. So she immediately is, like, super stoked to help Jawbreaker figure out his alt mode by basically believing that she'll become the director of Jawbreaker's little documentary film so basically she can become a famous movie director while at the same time Jawbreaker gets his alt mode, which is also a nice little callback to Thundercracker in the IW comics, who ended up also becoming a movie director and screenwriter and ended up becoming very enamored with Earth culture, and that basically kickstarts the whole plot of this episode with Jawbreaker and Hashtag interviewing different Terrans and Autobots to try and help Jawbreaker figure out his alt mode. This leads Jawbreaker and Hashtag to the dugout, where initially Jawbreaker plans to just go and interview Twitch and Thrash about how they chose their alt modes, but instead, Hashtag sort of turns it around. It's basically instead trying to make it like an inspiring montage for to inspire Jawbreaker into choosing his alt mode. So she basically coordinates this epic like martial arts demonstration of where Twitch and Thrash are gonna destroy a bunch of hay bales, and we get this really funny thing that I know a lot of people have had problems with in the filmmaking industry, myself especially, with making YouTube videos, where she prepares like this awesome scene for Twitch and Thrash, and when Hashtag goes to record it, turns out she was recording everything the whole time, and then so she basically didn't record the actual scene. It just cuts to like right after they finished, and it just totally wasn't recorded at all. So it's just like a harmless little thing that I know doesn't really add a lot to the plot, but it does show basically how Hashtag is being a little bit overbearing in this, and that while her intentions are good in the fact that she's trying to help Jawbreaker find his alt mode, try and chase her own dreams of becoming a film director in the process. But that leads to the main portion of this episode, where after that, Hashtag drives Jawbreaker over to the same ship hangar that we saw them fight Mandroid in back in the last episode, with episode 10, Age of Evolution Part 2. We see that the whole area is totally a wreck. We see that the big battleship that Mandroid threw is still stuck in the little warehouse. We see piles of dead Arachnamechs all destroyed in amongst the destruction. But we also see here Megatron and Elita 1, who are on cleanup duty, that, as she states, that while Optimus is off busy doing something else. And thank God we get to see more of Elita, because I missed her so badly after she was literally only in the first 3 episodes of the first batch and never showed up again aside from 2 non-speaking roles. And so while unfortunately this is Elita's only appearance in this batch as well, it is nice to see her again, and compared to like how many episodes other Optimus and Megatron have appeared in, it's pretty similar. Elita, with this episode and not counting her non-speaking roles in episodes 4 and 8, have only appeared in 4 episodes, that being episodes 1, 2, 3, and this one. Megatron appears in 7 episodes, Elita in 4, and Optimus in 6. So at that point, yeah, I think that's a bit better, but I would like to see Elita in maybe 1 or 2 more episodes just to round it up. I know this show is about the Terrans, but it would be nice to see a little bit more of Optimus, Megatron, and Elita going forward. So as Megatron and Elita are busy cleaning up all the Arachnamechs from the site, Jawbreaker sees them and goes to go interview them next while Hashtag films them. And I absolutely love how timid Jawbreaker is here with Elita and Megatron, but he goes up to them calling them respected elders, and he's absolutely like so cute. Cyrus Arnold, for his first ever voice acting credit to my knowledge, he does a fantastic job of voicing Jawbreaker here. He was like, honestly, I wasn't like the biggest fan of his performance in episodes 9 and 10, but he does so much better in this episode and the rest of this batch going forward. He really improved from those last 2, and there's just so much here. So we first start off with Jawbreaker interviewing Megatron, where basically asking him how he picked his alt mode of being the quad rotor helicopter. So Megatron basically explains in a really interesting reveal that he got his alt mode as a way of getting Optimus to trust him and basically confirm that he was serious in joining the Autobots. So basically, the whole thing was that Optimus, in order to prove Megatron's loyalty, had him scan the alt mode, but actually, initially Megatron refused. And it's cool to see Jawbreaker agree with Megatron here, because Jawbreaker believed that it wasn't fair of Optimus to ask Megatron to give up his Cybertronian alt mode, which Megatron agrees with. But then, apparently after that, Skywarp, Nova Storm, and presumably Starscream attacked Dot's squadron in a battle towards the end of the Transformer War. So when the odds were stacked against them, Megatron ended up scanning the only remaining helicopter on the base, and therefore won the battle single-handedly for them. Which I think is really, really cool, that even though it's not only an inspiring story for Jawbreaker, it's also a really cool story to give more backstory into Megatron and how he got his alt mode, because it makes you think, did he get this alt mode while he was still a Decepticon, or did he get it after joining Optimus in the Autobots, and as we learn now, he got it as a way of proving his loyalty to Optimus and that he was serious in ending the war between them, which I think is really, really cool. So after Jawbreaker interviews Megatron, we get to my favorite part of the episode, and that is when he interviews Elita. So at this point, Hashtag says that she's going to be busy setting up the climax of her movie, basically. So she has Jawbreaker basically mounts the camera onto his shoulder so that he can film himself while he goes interview Elita, and she basically has him run through this little obstacle course that she does, that like she's made out a bunch of like hurdles and like a tire ring to drive through. Meanwhile, I love how Elita does it flawlessly while Jawbreaker just stumbles along. He only like hops over all like the hurdles one by one, just like steps over them, and he just slowly climbs up this pile of shipping cargo containers while Elita just effortlessly parkours her way up to the top. But eventually, though, Jawbreaker does manage to get to the top with Elita, and she has him sit with him, admiring a view over the entirety of Witwicky. And this is honestly a scene that legit made me tear up, because the way Elita and Jawbreaker talk in a scene is absolutely perfect. I gotta give a shout out to, again, Cyrus Arnold and Sissy Jones, who easily, this is the highlight of the episode in my opinion. So basically, Jawbreaker asks Elita how she picked her alt mode, where Elita explains that she struggled with picking her alt mode for a long time on Earth, just like Jawbreaker is struggling now. However, once she felt it in her spark which alt mode was right for her, that's when she knew. And then at this point, Jawbreaker starts asking a lot of questions like how will he know when is the right time, or when, like, what does it feel like when he knows it will be the right time? And you can clearly see that he's super stressed out about this, but Elita does her best to totally stay calm and reassure Jawbreaker that he's just overthinking it, and explains a lot about how he'll be able to transform, as she explains how every Cybertronian has a T-Cog inside them, which is a nice little callback to Transformers Prime, which is where the term T-Cog actually originated from. But after that, though, we get easily, I think, my favorite line in the whole episode, and I'm gonna just let this play here from Jawbreaker, because Cyrus Arnold does a perfect job with it.
But what if I'm broken or something? When I look at cars, I feel nothing.
Then maybe you weren't meant to be a vehicle.
You can scan other things?
Almost anything you want. It's up to you.
This scene right here hurt my heart so much listening to it, because the way Jawbreaker speaks, he asks if he's broken, Elita if he's broken. He says how when he looks at other cars, he doesn't get excited or like has a thrill like in a spark like how the other Terrans do. The way he talks about it, it really feels like to me, if you were to just switch a few words around, this could easily be read as someone coming out to someone that they're gay or like asexual or stuff like that. It really, really reads like someone that's either coming out as gay, bi, lesbian, even like, you know, to a degree like how Jawbreaker thinks he's broken. To me, that really strikes as a way of an analogy for autistic people almost. And I absolutely love how Hasbro and Nickelodeon are basically using this framing of Jawbreaker not believing in a vehicle alt mode is right for him, but with this framework, because it fits so well, and the way Elita is just so welcoming of this, that she's saying that, well, maybe you don't need a vehicle alt mode, maybe that's what that means, and that's totally okay, you're more than welcome. Just because you don't want a vehicle alt mode, that doesn't make you any less of a Cybertronian than your brothers and sisters. I think that is such an incredible message, because, fun fact on myself, as someone who's bisexual, I just think that is such a good message to tell people that it's okay to be, if you're not heterosexual or something like that, or if you don't feel normal per se, as some people would say. I think that's such a great message, and it's easily my highlight of this episode. So Jawbreaker's conversation with Elita finally gives him basically what the clarity of what he's been looking for, essentially that he doesn't know what his alt mode is going to be, but that's okay, and that he'll know when it is. However, though, Hashtag unfortunately has other plans, and that leads to sort of the climax of this whole episode, which arguably is pretty ironic considering it's the climax of Hashtag's movie as well. So essentially, Hashtag then steals away Jawbreaker for basically the big climax of her movie, where essentially it has Jawbreaker surrounded by a bunch of different vehicles, a boat, a helicopter, some other cars, and she basically just goads Jawbreaker into picking one to choose as his alt mode. However, since she wasn't there to hear Alita's little like speech to him about basically how a vehicle alt mode may not be for him, Jawbreaker gets totally stressed out and panicked by all this, eventually to the point where he just blows up on Hashtag and wants her to stop so that they can just go home. So he knocks the camera out of her hand, almost breaking in the process. And at this point, though, the camera lands on an arachnid mech that just happens to not be destroyed, and ends up stealing the camera and trying to leave the whole hangar. And Jawbreaker and Hashtag have to go and try to stop it, because if that footage gets out, it has classified info on Transformers, as Elita states that for some reason the knowledge of T-Cogs should be kept out of human minds, but I mean, or out of human hands, but I mean, guys, you're literally teaching the human kids, as we saw back in episode 7, are being taught about Cybertronian history, but apparently Cybertronian biology is top secret? Okay, Elita, but whatever. So Hashtag and Jawbreaker end up chasing the arachnid mech across the hangar, trying to get the camera back from it. So Jawbreaker decides when it's moving too fast to basically use Hashtag as a springboard of sorts, and so he runs through the same obstacle course that he and Elita did earlier, but ends up like launching himself perfectly so that he gets in the tire that Elita had to jump through. So he ends up rolling on the tire, basically using it sort of as like a makeshift vehicle to get over to the arachnid mech and run it over in the process and destroying it. However, in the process, though, the camera ends up being destroyed as well, and Jawbreaker immediately feels bad that he ruined Hashtag's movie, but at the same time, Hashtag feels bad that she basically sort of tried to turn the whole situation of Jawbreaker wanting his own alt mode into a personal project for her to basically become famous. So it's at this point, Hashtag and Jawbreaker make up, and essentially Jawbreaker explains that next time if they have a problem, just like talk it out normally instead of basically trying to make it into a big project for both of them, and which Hashtag is totally okay with. So as they go, though, Jawbreaker notices that the tape that was inside the camera wasn't destroyed, so he takes that without Hashtag knowing and decides to make it as a little surprise for her when he tells her at the end of this episode that the whole Terrans are putting together a movie night for her. So Jawbreaker surprises her at the end, which is really sweet, and basically explains to her that he managed to save the video from the destroyed camera and ends up having Mo and Thrash help edit it together, which is really, really a sweet way to end this. That not only did Jawbreaker realize that he's cool with not having alt mode now because he'll know when he gets the right one, but also Hashtag gets to be a movie star by having her own movie finished. Which, and again, a shout out again to Nickelodeon too for making our second episode that doesn't revolve around any human characters for the most part, aside from Mo showing up in the beginning of this episode and Dots, and then a bit of Robbie and Mo in the end too. This episode was carried almost entirely by just Jawbreaker and Hashtag, and I love this. Again, not saying that it's bad when episodes have to revolve around the humans, it's just cool to know that an episode of EarthSpark can be carried without them as well. And Jawbreaker and Hashtag were absolutely perfect this episode, and of course, even so, Roy McCann as Megatron and Sissy Jones as Elita, they all did perfect, and it's easily one of my top 3 favorite episodes in this whole batch. Hey guys, this is Autobot Sonic from the future here. Just another thing I want to point out that's an incredible part of this episode that I totally forgot to mention is literally the closing monologue at the end of this episode from Jawbreaker that he gives to Hashtag. When Hashtag's so excited to watch her movie, and then she apologized to Jawbreaker that he never found out what his alt mode is. He gives such an empowering speech to Hashtag, basically saying how he knows that he's not like any other Terran. He knows that he's not going to have a vehicle alt mode, but that's okay, and whatever he does pick he's totally cool with, and that when he finds his alt mode, Hashtag will be the first one he tells. I think this is honestly, as I said before with his conversation with Elita, if you just switch up the words a bit, this literally sounds like someone saying, hey, you know what? I realize I'm gay, I'm bisexual, I'm some other LGBT, but you know what? That's okay. I know what I am, and that's okay. I know I'm not what society may expect of me, but that's fine too. And again, it's what made me tear up so much. This ending did as well, just because, again, as someone who is bisexual and just really struggled with that fact for a lot of my life when I first realized that I was bisexual, that's just something that really, really spoke to me. And something like this is what I would have liked to see when I was like 13 or 14 when I realized I was bisexual. So it's really, really cool to see this happen. And I'm gonna play the closing monologue from here just because I think it's something that everyone out there should hear. For if there's anyone out here who believes that they are mistake or broken like Jawbreaker, you most certainly are not.
Before, I thought there was something wrong with me. I didn't know why I couldn't just pick an alt mode, like everybody else. Well, it's because I'm not like everybody else. I don't know what I'll be. But when I feel it in my spark, you'll be the first one to know.
And so that was my review of Transformers EarthSpark Season 1, Episode 12, Outtakes. If I had to rate this episode, I would easily give it a 9.5 out of 10. Such a fantastic episode with Jawbreaker and Hashtag on this little mini adventure, sort of talking to other characters. We get some nice little lore info with Megatron and how he got his alt mode. Elita 1, she gives easily one of the best speeches in this entire show so far that I know is going to be really, really inspiring for LGBT people and autistic kids. I know that's going to help out a lot with them. Jawbreaker is instantly, like, I can totally see, like, people, like, seeing that maybe Jawbreaker is sort of autistic coded, and I love that headcanon, that a lot of you guys who think that Jawbreaker's autistic, go for it, because I think that's such a cool thing to do, have a main character be autistic, but not have it, like, define his personality. It's just another part of him, essentially, and I love that. And the only con I had to say with this episode, really, is just the fact that, oh, we can't let the Arachnimech get away with the thing with the camera because it talks about T-Cogs, apparently? If anything, I'd be more concerned with the fact that it has footage of the Terrans in it than the fact that it talks about T-Cogs, but whatever, that's what the half point is, but it's not really a big deal. So that's gonna be it for this review. I'll be back next week with episode 13, Missed Connection. If you like this review, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later.